Lord, 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 yeah. I'm Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Oh, Lord. I'm Mrs. Brown, wanna hold right down. Yeah, no, no, no. I'm Mrs. Brown, you're too wicked. Hey, hey, hey. I'm Mrs. Brown, you can't hold right down. Lord, under attack from friend and foe. From Mrs. Brown and Co. Under attack, Lord, I'm firing from her roadside track. Mama, under attack from Heckle and a Jekyll. Them have a bigger time plot. Under attack, Lord, I'm firing from a roadside track. Lord, 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 Lord. Yeah. I wanna make two. I do want to make four. The deal that they were giving, so I walk right out their door. Now Mrs. Brown, them a frown. Her golden goose is gone. She planned a secret war. Said she wanna even the score. Lord, Lord, yeah. I'm Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Oh, Lord. I'm Mrs. Brown, wanna hold right down. Yeah, hold on, Rasta. I'm Mrs. Brown, you too wicked. Hey, hey, hey. I'm Mrs. Brown, wanna hold right down. Lord, under attack from Sergeant and Corporal. Them have a bigger time plot. Under attack, Lord, firing from her roadside track. Mama, under attack from friend and foe. From Mrs. Brown and Co. Under attack, Lord, firing from her roadside track. Lord, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, I tell you them too wicked. So yeah, look, Mrs. Brown, them a plot. The plot the liquor some a short. How them a force because of them a lost. How them.
All right, Dominicans, wherever you are at this time, it's a pleasure to have you in the audience here this evening. And those of you as well listening and watching as well in the region, those of you not Dominicans as well, we know Civic Vibes have a large audience indeed. Those of you further afield as well, special greetings, a special welcome to all of you at this time. Yes, I've already seen the messages coming through. Lofty, we are waiting, we have been waiting. But folks, you know how technology is, and we really had some technical issues to deal with this afternoon. But nonetheless, we are here and we are ready to go. It's already 20 minutes past the good old hour of 6 o'clock in Dominica and the rest of our region. That is the 5th of November, 2023. Without further ado, people, let me move across and say a hi and hello to Mr. Alvin Thomas, the host of Civic Vibes. Alvin, good afternoon, bro.
Yes, Lofty, good afternoon, my brother. Good to see you again for yet another Civic Vice program.
Yes,
we missed last Sunday, but we're back this Sunday again. And like you said, I can see our live is burning up. We may have to call the fire brigade, the fire marshals. But that is good. I'm looking forward to another very interesting conversation. We are happy to have with us, of course, Miss Aileen Burton, no stranger to the program. So pleasant good afternoon to everyone in Dominica. Since we are having that 2 days, it is now, 2 days after our independence, I would say to the many listeners and those listening, I'm not sure if I can say Happy Independence, or if I say Happy National Day, which one should I say? Because as I will share later on, independence in itself when we begin to look at it in more detail, is much more than just saying independence. So I say happy National Day to those of you who are on. So yes, again, I look forward to having a very interesting conversation. So pleasant good afternoon to everyone.
All right, indeed. Alvin, thank you very much, my brother, for your opening remarks here. And folks, yes, Alvin Thomas touched on it earlier, a while ago. That is, we are talking independence, the meaning of independence. We in Dominica last Friday gone celebrated 45 years as an independent country from Great Britain. And so that is a conversation we're going to have this afternoon as to the importance of, or the significance of independence to Dominica, and just how we as a people, what we can do to preserve it or save it, as it were. This evening, we have a cultural icon, I call her in Dominica, no stranger to Civic vibes. As a matter of fact, she's part of us. And so without much more delay, Ms. Britton, special good evening to you. And how are you?
Thank you, and I am so much better. So I'm happy to be back on the program.
Indeed, you look much better as well.
Thank you.
Indeed. Ms. Burton, it has been a little while, you know, you have been here with us, but we know why. And so there are many folks out there who are watching and listening to you right now. You may just want to say hi and hello to them as well.
Hello, everyone. So happy to be back on Civic Vibes. I have been away for quite a while, but I am happy now. Those of you who know me will know why. And it's just good to be back. So I hope you have been sharing the flyer of the discussion tonight. I hope you're going to take part, because we are all Dominicans, and I think we are all looking towards a better Dominica. So I hope you really participate, give us ideas, and let us know your views. It's really happy. I'm really happy to be back.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Ms. Britton. We are looking for your invaluable contribution here to this evening program. Alvin, let us just run through that list quickly. Some of our persons already here tuning in with us. We have Dave Bertrand, Adeline Shillingford, Mali Ostry says she was waiting for some time there. Robin Melba Donna, you're there as well. Eliza Louise Gomes, Carla Guy, John Harry, Magdalene Augustine, Ramona St. Rose, Stephanie John Baptist, Dorian Charles is in the house as well. Dave Bertrand, I think I mentioned you already. John Joseph, you're listening and locked in as well. Julie Polydor, Owen Prosper. We also have Justina James, Carolyn Warrington, Adelaide Paul.
We have Jane Bernard in St. Thomas.
Yes, continue the rest, Alvin.
St. Thomas. Henrietta James from Florida. We also have Lauren Lestrade, Mavella Defoe, Lafoy Julian. Good evening, Patriots. We have Dory Drago, of course, a regular. Owen Prosper, Larry Lloyd. Who else?
We have Viva Mamu, Mary Lorio. Good evening, Judy Berry. Yes, you guys are here. Mavella Defoe. Who else we have here, Alvin? Who else we seeing?
Owen Prosper, I think we called that name earlier.
Larry Lloyd, brother Dory Drago as well. Good evening to you, my
Ashby
brother.
Scotland. Ashby Scotland is also there with us. Yeah, you did call Justina James. So there are quite a few folks coming on from what we can see so far.
Yeah.
Locked from all over the region, the US. And of course, we do also have folks who are always locked in from the UK, Canada, and all across the globe. Yes, indeed. Folks, the numbers to call in so that you can make your contribution to the program later, if needs be, they are 615-9470. Again, I repeat, 615-9470 or 245-2396. These are the numbers that will get you into the program here. Remember, the program is being streamed live via Facebook and also on YouTube as well. So our YouTubers, good evening to you guys in a very, very special way indeed. It is already 25 minutes past 6 o'clock. Well, we know, we are aware that we started the program a bit late, quarter past thereabout. And so we will be giving you your full 2 hour indeed. All right. So have no fear in that department. Alvin, you want to start the ball rolling, bro? Sure, certainly, Lofty. Again, pleasant good afternoon to everyone. The discussion that we have for this evening, as I recalled it, is what is the meaning of independence and how we as a people can preserve it. That's a very interesting conversation, a very interesting topic, I dare say, and one I'm sure that would gain the attention of every Dominican, no matter where you are, in or out of Dominica. And I know for this year, 45th year of independence, as I understand it, the theme, we were celebrating it against Anu Celibwe, celebrating Dominica Unyielding Spirit, Anu Celibwe. I think that was the theme as I understand it. I'll be a little controversial in that, and I would maybe start off by saying I would say it a little differently. I would say reclaiming our future, our national sovereignty and self-reliance. To me, that would be my appropriate title for it at 45. Reclaiming our future, national sovereignty, and self-reliance. And why am I saying that, Lofty? I'm saying that against the background that we are now 45, and 5 years from this year's celebration, 5 years out, we'll be celebrating 50 years as an independent nation, half a century. That's a milestone in any stretch when you get to those golden numbers, I would say. And that's one of the reasons why I would reframe that Anu Celibwe to reclaiming our future, national sovereignty and self-reliance. And I'll tell you why I'm suggesting that as we go forward. In terms of political independence, I would submit that economic independence of any nation produces what is called true political independence of a nation. And that political independence is only a facade if the nation is not economically independent. So it's just a show. It's just to say that you have political independence in the absence of economic. And I will submit further to say that economic independence is the control of the wealth of our nation by a majority of its citizens, that is the Dominicans. And therefore, in any context, economic independence means local ownership of our resources and the means of production for utilization of our natural resources. Okay? And one of the fundamental ideas behind the creation of a nation state is the right for the people of self-determination as an independent nation. It is about the people being in charge of their destiny, the idea of people being fully, and I underscore that, fully in charge of their own affairs is expressed in the word sovereignty. Sovereignty of the people also express itself in political independence, economic independence, cultural and societal independence. And that is what it's all about. And if we made to look very quickly at the preamble of our Constitution, where it says, whereas we the people, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas in that preamble that would tie into just what I'm saying there in terms of our own political independence, economic independence, as well as our cultural and societal independence. So just to conclude, I would say that we are at the juncture right now in our history where we have to reclaim that future. We have to become a more self-reliant people, not relying too much on external influences as we are seeing happening in the country, and reclaim our sovereignty vis-a-vis what we know in terms of the economic citizenship we have been giving out to a number of persons. Not that we cannot get into the program, but here we are giving away our sovereignty, and we have so many influences in the country that influence the direction that we go as a country. we need to become more self-reliant.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say by way of my opening comments on the topic.
All right, Alvin, thank you very much, my brother. You give us much food for thought there. Indeed, you really set a steady foundation here to start us off here. Ms. Burton, the topic that we have under discussion here tonight, under the microscope, as it were, it is in two parts. And I really want you, as our guest this afternoon, special invited as well, to really go deep into the two parts of that topic. And the first part being, what is the meaning of independence? And I really want you to zero in on, as a people, as a Dominican, as Dominicans, how meaningful, how significant was that signing over as it was then to now, how important it is to us as Dominicans to be independent rather. We will take the second part after.
This word independence, it has a whole lot of meanings. And I think this is why Sir Clancy Signoret, our past president, never liked that word. He always preferred to use National Day celebrations rather than independence celebrations. I would agree with Alvin that the theme this year was a little superficial. We are always celebrating. We have Christmas, we celebrate. We have Carnival, we celebrate. We have Easter, we celebrate. In the emancipation, everything is a celebration. So I found that this theme was just too superficial. We need something deeper. Now, looking up that word independence, it's like a word, a double-edged sword. It means self-government, self-rule, self-determination, autonomy, and many other synonyms like fairness, lack of bias, justice, self-reliance, self-support, as Alvin said, open-mindedness. But the other synonyms are a lack of constraint, individualism, indiscipline, unruliness. What is the real meaning? Freedom from control, support, aid, and influence. Being able to do things for yourself, make your own decisions without help or influence from others. The opposite of independence is non-self-government and governing, and being subservient. So we have independence, which means we need to govern ourselves. But look at the other side of independence. And I think a lot of people, I remember in the 70s, 80s, people thought independence meant you can do what you want. But this is not possible for a nation. The nation has to have boundaries. And this is what we are lacking. I am not a politician, I am not an economist, but I am a person who was brought up in Dominica. This is my home, this is my beloved country. And I can see a deterioration in the social aspect. Many other aspects, but the social aspect. And the challenge now is, how do we get back on stream? How do we get back to the norms of the years past? What direction are we taking? Are we losing our creolity? Have we becoming, Mrs. Corderon once said that we are hybrids because we come from Europe and Africa. So we are hybrids. But sometimes I feel we are mongrels because the way we behave sometimes, I do not understand what is wrong with our people. So this is an area that I would love to really dissect, whether the education system can help us, how can government put rules and regulations to give us boundaries. I look at the dressing, I look at people's behavior. I mean, just the other day, I fell on the road Not one Dominican came to see if they could help. I don't know Dominica like that. And why did I fall? Because there was a whole lot of buses and I could not pass on the sidewalk. And I peeped out to see if I was able to pass by in front of the bus. A bus came and just brushed my glasses, held onto them, got unsteady, and fell to my feet. Luckily, the other bus was not coming fast around that corner. And the driver stopped, but he didn't come out. He didn't put down his window to say, "Are you okay?" I don't know Dominica like that. When did it become like that? And these are the things that I think we need to speak about. I would love to speak about. There are many other things that I would like to speak about. And again, with independence, we need objectives. What are our objectives with this independence? That's another question we have to
Ms.
answer.
Burton, just before you go to the objectives, can I just interject there one? Because you
Sure.
said something there that really caught my attention.
Yes.
You were in this situation whereby you fell in Roseau and,
Yes.
and you said nobody looked at you, nobody looked at to help?
No. And I do not know Dominica like that.
And there were people around who
There
saw?
were people around, but the bus stop, a bus driver stopped to let me, well, luckily he stopped, otherwise I would have probably not been here tonight.
Wow.
But he did not even roll down his window to say, "Are you okay?" Not even to open the door of his car to say, "Are you okay?" He just stopped. So I got up and I felt there were no broken bones, so I carried on about my business.
Wow.
You know,
interesting.
I had a father who belonged to the army, and he had 4 girls, and he trained us to be tough. But my knee was well grazed. I went to Fort Young and I asked them whether they had a first aid kit, and they're the ones that helped me to wash off my knee. So thank you, Fort Young. Thank you. Wow. They used their first aid kit to clean the wound and to cover it for me.
Wow, that is something
I don't know
else.
Dominica like that.
No, not at all.
When did we become like that? And these are the things that I am asking in this. I really don't know how to explain this.
Wow. Let us just get back to where we started a while ago. In that, I forget the word you used, but I'm saying trivial now. That the theme for this year, both you and Alvin hinted on that it was sort of trivial. Just to, could you, Ms. Burton, give the listeners and viewers an idea who or how does a theme for any independent celebration come around? Who's involved? What is the thinking behind it? You know.
In my day, it was it originated at the Division of Culture and sent up to Cabinet for approval.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Alvin, any thoughts so far?
Yeah,
we'll come back to you. Yes.
Yeah. I think Aileen touched on a number of areas which obviously we can expand on, and she's so right. I mean, again, you know, I always like to start from the origin, like I said earlier, and I made a reference to our Constitution. Because when we became independent, that was one sacred document that was handed down to us. A written constitution, unlike the United Kingdom, who does not have a written constitution. They follow norms and practices and all of that. But they gave us, one might say, a Bible. Just like you go in your Bible and you get solace from your Bible and you read verse and chapters and Acts of the Apostles and everything. We have a constitution. And the preamble of our constitution, among other things, in the first area, based on what Aileen is saying, it says that whereas we, the people of Dominica, have affirmed, so we have given affirmation to what we would like to be as a people. And like she's saying, she never knew our people like that. And midway towards the first preamble, it says, the position of the family in a society of free men and free institution, the dignity of the human person. You heard what it says there? The dignity of the human person. And that's exactly what she's saying, that yes, she fell on the road and no one saw the dignity in her as a human person to come to her assistance. And the equal and inalienable right with which all members of human family are endowed by their creator. That's in the first section of our preamble. Dignity, family, society, you know, creator, that we look out for one another, you know? And I think it is so sad that we have gotten to that stage. And that is why I personally, as I said, I do not subscribe to that theme of Anuselibwe. My question to that is, what are we in fact celebrating? That would be my question. What are we celebrating? And that is why, in my own little way, I would submit that a more appropriate theme moving forward, as I said, would be, we got to reclaim our future based on what Elena says, where we have come as a people. And that includes our national sovereignty, which covers a whole gamut of areas as a people, and self-reliance. That is so critical because we have become a very dependent, with a capital D, people, depending on others to do for us, both from within and outside. Our hands are stretched out. We no longer have the dignity of work. We no longer have what it takes to understand that we have to do it for ourselves. And that is being perpetuated, I dare say, from the top. I'm going to be very brutal about it. It starts, it's like you're in a family, Lofty and Alien. And if your mother and parents don't teach you to save, to work hard, to do this, and all you do is come to mommy and daddy every day and say, mommy, give me $10, mommy, give me $5. You'll never learn what it is to grow up and be a man or woman. So that's my take on it right now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Alvin. All right, Ms. Burton, back to you. You basically gave us the importance of a country like Dominica being independent, right? You were about to touch on, before I interjected a while ago, the objectives rather of being an independent country. Can you speak to some of those objectives?
Well, I don't have the objectives. I'm not a politician, but I know what I would love to see for Dominica.
Sure. And that is what I want to extract from you.
I think every political party and people responsible for ministries, individual ministries, should have objectives when they enter into that office. Now, I don't know whether that is done. So from that point of view, I really cannot say very much. But if you're given the responsibility of governing an island, you have the honor of being a civil servant, a public servant, serving the people, which is what I was brought up to do. You serve the people. Then you must have objectives. What is your education system like? Are we educating people for export? Or are we educating people for the Dominican context? This is something that we have to do. We have to ensure that you train people for what your island needs and not for export. Because our people go away and they do very well. And what do? They stay abroad, they don't come back. What are the incentives for the people whom government sends to be trained? What happens to them? How do we encourage them to come back? We look at education, we look at health. No, this is another saying that the Guadeloupeans have, or the French have, is that il faut pas accepter tous les cadeaux. Quelquefois, les cadeaux sont empoisonnés. So it says it's not every gift you must accept, because sometimes the gifts are poisoned. Ils sont empoisonnés. So this is something else we have to think about. And the health sector, so we have education as one. We have the health sector, and you need to have objectives for the health sector of Dominica. How are we providing top quality health care? Again, recently, I had to take someone to the hospital. The hospital is nice and beautiful, very spacious, a lot of wasted space, if I might say that. And I'm sure no nurses were given any involvement in the construction or the drawing, the layout of the hospital. I'm sure nobody asked any nurses. They don't normally do. But we are the ones using the hospital. It's a lot of wasted space. But it's nice and bright and clean and everything. But you have to spend 6 hours before you get attended to, I brought somebody in. We came in at about something past 4. She was seen about past 8 and went home at 12. This is too long to wait in a casualty, much too long. So those responsible for the health sector must look into those things. And do something very simple. I am suggesting, no, it's not a criticism. As I say, I am a patriot. That is how I was brought up. If there's something going wrong, you fix it. Our gutters in front of the house were dirty, we swept it. We took our cocoa brooms, we went in the street and we swept. That is how we were brought up. We didn't say, oh, leave it for Roseau City Council. So people who are listening and those responsible must take it in a positive light. I am suggesting that we have family nurse practitioners in casualty, because the person I brought in could have been seen very easily by a nurse practitioner and sent home within an hour or 2. But from 4 to 12, that's too long. So that is one suggestion. So the health sector has to be relooked at. And the people in Dominica who are able to make suggestions for things to work better. I went into hospital once, I didn't get dinner and I didn't get breakfast the next morning. I'm a person, I'm there. But because I was not admitted to the ward, I did not get breakfast and dinner. So, there are simple things that can be worked out. Where is that?
Did we lose her?
No, she's there. The audio, the signal is just a bit low from her end.
Where to?
All right, Miss Burton. Miss Burton, we are having a little technical challenge with you here in terms of your audio not coming through. What are you hearing me?
No,
she dropped out. All right, we are folks. We apologize for the loss of signal from our guest end. We will try our very best to get her back into the conversation as soon as possible. In the meantime, Alvin Thomas.
Back.
You have a reception problem. It's back now.
Okay, she's back.
Okay, Ms. Burton, we lost you when you were speaking about not having dinner at the hospital. Can you just go back there to refresh us, please?
Yes. So I spent a couple nights, and the first night I didn't have dinner, and the morning I did not have breakfast. And nobody came to see if I needed help. Now, apparently, what happens up there is that the staff wait for people to come to bathe their patients. I mean, this is just so foreign to me as a nurse. And these things are easy.
Alrighty, folks, again, yes, we apologize for the sort of breaking transmission here, especially from our guest end. Yeah, Alvin, let us try to continue on whilst Ms. Burton try to rectify that issue from her end in terms of that signal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Alvin. I've tried to link, try to deal with Ms.
Yeah.
Burton in the back.
I mean, it is so, I mean, it is so, what should I say? It is so disheartening.
Again, I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
Miss Burton, what I'm gonna do, let me just take Alvin now.
Yes.
And you just stay a little pause from your end. Let's see, everything will reboot nicely from your end. So Alvin, go ahead. Yes. Just take a pause.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I was saying, Lofty, and I'm sure to our many folks who are on listening with us, this is so disheartening when you hear that sort of direct, one might say, reporting from Ms. Burton. You know, and that's why I again have to go back to the theme, Anu Celebrate. I mean, she gave the incident of having fell in the road in Roseau. She fell, you know, not daytime, not in the night to say, well, it was dark, nobody saw her or anything like that. It was daytime in Roseau, the city, and nobody came to her assistance. And then, of course, she was at the hospital and did not get dinner or breakfast. I mean, what are we celebrating at 45 years independence? What are we celebrating? I think we have to find a way to reclaim who we are as a people, reclaim who we are as a people, and move on. And I think I'm going to sort of, maybe one might say, digress a bit. I'm going to digress a bit, Lofty. And it all starts at the top. It all starts at the top. The values that we bring to bear as a people, the principles, the norms, you name it. It all starts there. Now, you, Lofty, me, have heard our Prime Minister, the Honorable Roosevelt.
All right, Alvin, just stick a little pin there. Ms. Burton, are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Okay, so cool. Okay, I'm hearing you now. So let Alvin just finish that point, and then we'll get back to you. So you're better. You're on track.
Yes.
All right. To him much is given, much is expected. We've heard that before. To him much is given, much is expected. And the Honorable Prime Minister felt that as we celebrate our 45th year of independence, the best thing to do was to compose a song in which he had the song, Wild Girls Gone Wild. Now, for some of us, many of us, we might say, well, oh, just brush it aside. Well, it's just fun. He's just having fun. But that was the essence of his song. The girls gone wild. Okay? And he performed the song at the World Creole Music Festival on stage. And it's my understanding that it was even sung at some children rally, if I'm not mistaken. I hope, if I'm wrong, I withdraw. And I took the opportunity to look up the meaning of the word wild. The word wild has multiple meanings. Living in a state of nature, not tamed or domesticated. Growing or produce without cultivation of the care of humans, such as plant, flowers, whatever. Uncivilized, barbarous, of unrestrained violence, fury, intensity, disorderly or chaotic, such as wild thoughts or wild talks, uncontrolled and dangerous, such as a wild rage. The word wild can also be used in slang to mean very passionate and attractive in a sexual way. Those were the meanings I came up for young girls gone wild, the girls gone wild.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what Aileen was saying, that we have lost something along the way.
Mhm.
We have become now a wild citizen that don't care, especially our young people. And then when you have from the very top, a prime minister is promoting for the girls to go wild, then that's the problem we have, Lofty. And I think we have to reclaim our future. We have to speak to those issues. And that is the only way we can be a serious nation, a nation that truly says we are independent, both politically, economically, as well as cultural and societally. That's the only way we can make it.
True. All right, Alvin, thank you for your spin here, and you really went off a bit here, but you know, that all that is good as well in terms of the wildness of some Dominicans at this time. Ms. Burton, you were on a point a while ago, which I want to get back to, and the question I need to ask you now, from 1978, when we signed that document so that we could be free from England, as it were, to date, based on the actions in Dominica, the daily things that we do in Dominica, would you say that we are really and truly an independent society, an independent country?
I don't think we can say that we're independent because we lack in the agricultural sector, we lack a lot of produce that we could be doing. We have not developed any factories. I remember when I was growing up, we had what we call dumb can. We canned grapefruit, and that was the best canned grapefruit we could find. I don't know what happened. Nobody has tried to redo this sort of factories. What are we producing? I go to the supermarkets and it's like I'm in any big country because everything comes from abroad. No, I cannot be just too negative because there are certain things that are happening and Dominicans are producing certain items, but not sufficient. So I cannot say we are independent in that respect. As far as other economies concerned, what do we have as a nation? All we have is our land and our people. So therefore, we needed to get sponsorship from the funding agencies to assist us. But these agencies, we have to know exactly what we want, and we insist on getting what we want. We cannot just take hands out that are not going to do anything beneficial to the island. We also have to see what are the conditions, what are the contracts being signed by government for certain donations. I don't know what they are. Anything can be written in the contracts. I see land is going, Dominican land going where we can be planting trees. We are building concrete structures by people from other lands. So really, it is just so difficult. Again, as I said, it's not all gifts you accept. Some gifts are poisoned, so you cannot accept all gifts. No, I think governments need to make use of their technocrats, people who have been trained by government, who come home willing to serve their country. They have a foresight. They understand the value of the land and its people, but they're not recognized and their advice is not taken. Now, if you train people to do certain in certain fields, you need to be able to accept their proposals. You need to accept their proposals. You need to see what they are saying, whether it has any weight, and accept. So, it's just so, I mean, Dominica cannot be a very easy island to govern, because of our hurricanes, and every time you have to rebuild and so. But I think there's certain things that we can make an effort. And I will always go back to this nun. We must not forget those nuns. Sister Alicia, she had a vision for Dominica. Grow what you eat and eat what you grow. And this lady had projects for Dominica, giving people pigs, giving people chickens to start off their farming, home farming. These are the little things that we need to do so that people can support themselves. They can give their children milk to drink if they have a cow, meat to eat if they have a pig or two, eggs, all these things to build the nation. What is happening now? Oh, I don't know if you've noticed, the morphology of our people is changing. Why? Why is it changing? We have all young people are obese. Why? They're not eating from home. Everybody is buying food and fast food.
Yeah.
The morphology of our people is changing. Never known people so big in Dominica.
True.
So these are little things I feel government can control. We need boundaries. We need to control. Again, this is why we need objectives. What do you want for your people? Do you want a pack of people with hypertension and diabetes? Or do you want healthy people? We don't have a public gymnasium. We don't have a gymnasium for schools where children can go and let out their energies. So this objective is not there at all for health.
Yeah.
There's so many little things that we can do as a nation. If I think we are just we are using that part of independence, the meaning of independence, as freedom from control. Being able, just doing things, and unruliness, indiscipline. These are the things that I am seeing now. Even with our dress, look at what happened for the independence celebrations on National Day. People are, we ask, the cultural division in the past has done a lot of work on our national dress. But again, this business, we are not going to be restricted. We are independent. We can do what we want. We just seem to be following the negative parts of independence. And people use the national dress and put on anything. They do not see the value of the people who created that dress, the people who made us who we are now, the people who fought for their independence. At least give them that honor, give them that respect. Wear the dress properly. But we are using this independence in the negative context. Nobody can stop me. Up to now, we cannot stop the gentlemen from exposing their sliders. You go anywhere and you're faced with, sometimes I just have to laugh. Where is the self-respect? Where is the control? Where is the pride? I'm not seeing that.
And we are falling. Basically, you are saying here, Ms. Britton, that we are lagging behind in so many areas.
Yes. And we just need boundaries. We just must not accept everything. It's like a child. If you don't give a child boundaries, they're just going to grow up like wild animals. They're not, even sometimes the animals have a little bit more respect for each other.
True.
And we need boundaries. The state must control its people. I'm not asking for dictatorship, but I am asking that things shall need to be commented upon.
True. All right, folks, it is already 5 minutes past 7 o'clock. We started at 6:15. So in the next 10 minutes thereabout, we're going to take that much needed halfway or midway break, just to give you guys a little break as well. And we get back to a live panel in just a while. But Ms. Burton, whilst you were speaking, you touched on a very high note. And I just want you to, as we take that break in just a while, just go back there for just a little bit to expound. You touch on the point of, as an independent country, as an independent people, we need to be much more self-sufficient. The economy is one of those pillars as it pertains to independence that can be looked at as the barometer of whether we are truly independent or not. In terms of that self-sufficiency that you spoke of, how would you describe us as a people where our economic situation is concerned in the country?
I think, we speak of slavery, and we speak of the colonials who dictated and had us working on, our ancestors working on plantations and things like that. So we were contributing to the economy of the Europeans by producing. Now we are providing, or we are contributing, that's the word, to the Europeans by consuming. That's all we're doing. We're just consuming everything that is from overseas. What are we producing? There is not even a proper farine factory. We should be exporting farine. Farine should be in every supermarket at a reasonable price where people can buy. It's certain pockets of people who have been doing it for years are doing it. What are we doing to assist them to develop that market and get the people from overseas to know that we have gluten-free farine that they can use? Our plantains, our bananas, our dashings, all those kinds of things. Where are the factories? How are we marketing those things to the other islands?
And the sister to farine is Toloma as well, huh?
It's Toloma. A lot of babies were brought up on Toloma.
Indeed.
So what are we doing to boost that market? These are the little things. And COVID, I was in boardroom for COVID. And I thought, my goodness, thinking of Dominica, I thought there should be a drive to plant coconut trees, a drive to plant breadfruit trees. Are we thinking of the future in terms of feeding the nation when we have hurricanes? Breadfruit trees produce. We can be making breadfruit flour, making bread. And the other day, I was very disappointed when I saw on television a bakery with a gentleman from France. Where are our bakers? When we go to France or to wherever, we don't ask for penny breads, So I don't see why we feel it necessary to have French people come in to bake bread. Help those who are baking bread locally to develop their skills and to give us the local breads that we love. A lot of us love it. Help us. This is where I find, that sector could be stimulated and assisted.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much, Ms. Britton, for your thoughts. Alvin, we'll take the last 5 minutes before we take that break. We want to hear your thoughts. And folks, remember the numbers to call after the break: 245-2396 or 615-9470. Alvin, yes.
Yeah, well, boy, there's so much to unpack in what Ms. Wilson have said. I mean, she touched on so many areas, and it would require a whole 2 or more programs to even elaborate on some of these things. But just to say very quickly, though, a couple months ago, I recall seeing a list of businesses that no longer exist in Dominica, and they total about 103 when I looked at that list.
Yeah.
And among that was some of the areas that she just mentioned, the banana industry, Copra, Colgate Palmolive, Coca-Cola bottling plant, Bellows, Eric's Bakery, Ross University, Guyav, Tropical Craft, Candles industry. I mean, so many of those. And in terms of what we can produce, I mean, during our, I would say our, if one might say colonial, pre-independence days, we did bay oil, we did limes, we did bananas, we did root crops. And right now, no bay oils, no copra, no bananas, no vegetable, very little root crops, few manufacturing. And I mean, as I said, we can go on and on and on. And clearly, we got to reclaim that. It's really disheartening. Do you know, and I don't know how many Dominicans are aware of that, do you know where the current international airport is being built? And we all agree we need an international airport. It will enhance, as it's claimed, development for the country. But do you know the government acquired 400 acres of prime agricultural land to put that airport? 400 acres of land. And that's in our prime agricultural area. And it's not the question, and that is where, again, we are one people. We have to get away from that petty politics that we have, because the administration before this current administration had identified and located a spot for an international airport that met all the requirements. But again, because of our petty politics, we chose not to go there. So we took 400 acres of prime land. And do you know, out of that 400 acres of land, there were 47 farmlands were abandoned. 47 farmland. You heard that? If you go under the government official website, you'll see it. It's right there. 47 farmlands. The question remains, therefore, were those 47 farmlands relocated? In other words, you've taken 47 farmlands that producing food, and we talk about food security, did they now be replaced elsewhere? And we know that in terms of our farmlands, our arable lands, we don't have that many, because we are a very forest, mountainous, our terrain, that's what it is. So we have to really manage properly the utilization of our land. And when you tell me you abandon 47 farmlands, 400 acres of prime land, the area we know where this thing is going to be built, then that raises some serious question. So as I said, there's a lot to unpack. Just to say quickly, though, in closing, that she spoke about this French bakery and all of that. Again, it goes back to the whole question of a dependency model of development, which is making us perceive ourselves as inferior. We see it in Dominica. We see other persons coming and doing other things that make us look inferior. The question of building schools, construction. I mean, you have E.H. Charles and so many buildings that were built in Dominica by us right here, with some help from regional people, Social Security building, National Bank, Aid Bank, you name it, all of Goodwill, Canefield, all this building, Baffin State Housing Scheme, Soufriere, I mean, you name it, Dominicans build those. And this is a serious problem, because what it does, again, as I indicated earlier, it undermines our national sovereignty and self-reliance by making sure that foreigners are at the forefront of any development activities in our country, and that is wrong. Our communities accept foreign companies and agencies to deliver goods and services and to build those infrastructures for us. And they, therefore, health centers, bridges, all of that. And they are no longer, we the citizens now are no longer in control of our land, our resources, or even our future, because somebody else is doing it. And like she says, you have to be careful what you sign in and getting into. So it requires a serious reclaiming our future, which is what I will keep hanging on. We got to reclaim our future, reclaim our sovereignty, and become more a self-reliance people that we once were and can be again.
Right, indeed. Thank you very, very much, Alvin. Right on the money in terms of time for us to take that much needed break at this time. Folks, we have exhausted 1 hour already, an hour to go. We basically touched on a number of issues in terms of the problems associated with our independence so far as a country. The next leg, the second leg of the program, we're going to basically concentrate on the solution or solutions rather, because the second leg of the topic for discussion tonight is what can we do to preserve that independence that we have been enjoying for some time, if you say so. All right. So folks, it is now 7:15. We're going to take that much needed break at this time. What better song can we use to introduce us to the second half of the program by this one from Midnight Groovers, talking about bringing back the milk and honey days. We'll be right back in just a bit.
Look upon my people, cause we are going out of our culture. The oppressors have changed our sins. We need to build back ourselves. Whoa. Bring back the milk and honey. Yeah, juice and bush medicine. Bring back the milk and honey. Vanilla and cassava. Bring back the milk and honey. Coconut oil and castor. Bring back the milk and honey. Oh yes, my people. Hear the cry of groovers. We are oppressed, so long we've been kept down. Remember, he said, be fruitful, brothers, we need more drought. Hey, hey. Bring back the milk and honey.
Yes, bring back the milk and honey, says the groovers from the south.
Vanilla and cassava. Bring back the milk and honey. Coconut oil and castor. Bring back the milk and honey.
Folks, remember the numbers to call. They are on your screen now. Please take note, huh?
We need to build back ourselves. Oh, Lord.
Bring back the milk and honey.
In juice and bush medicine.
Bring back the milk and honey.
Vanilla and cassava.
Bring back the milk and honey.
Coconut oil and castor.
Bring back the milk and honey.
Oh yes, my people, hear the cry of groovers. We are oppressed, so long we've been kept down. Remember, it's a bit fruitful, brothers, we need more talk. Oh yeah.
Bring back the milk and honey.
In juice and bush medicine.
Bring back the milk and honey.
Vanilla and cassava.
Bring back the milk and honey.
Coconut oil and castor.
Bring back the milk and honey.
Bring back the milk and honey days, says groovers from Grand Bay. Huh? For those of you just tuning in at this time, we're talking to cultural icon in Dominica, Miss Aileen Burton, on that all-important topic about the reason for independence, the real importance of our independence as a country, and just how we can preserve that independence. To all those of you on the live feed, special good evening to all of you, okay? All right, folks, it is 20 minutes past the good old hour of 7 o'clock. Let's get back now to the live panel. And so, yes, we will be accepting your phone calls at this time. The numbers to call, again, they are 245-2396 or 615-9470. And as well, we'll be taking some of your comments in the live feed as well. Alvin, let us get the second leg going with your comments.
Yeah, I just want to make a brief comment there in response to
what can we now step in to do as a people, as a country, to help preserve that independence.
Let me just make a brief, let me comment rather on a comment that was made on the live feed. It is there by one of our guests on there by the name of Addison Baptist. And he made a comment, what does government have to do with company closing? I guess when I referenced the number of businesses that were closed. And I think, if I may, and I hope he's still there and is listening, I think governments are elected to represent the people and to create, one might say, the enabling environment.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Alvin, just before you respond to Addison, what's his name, Baptist, let me just put you on note. Addison Baptist, based on my knowledge, is one of those, I am saying now, sycophants of the Dominica Labour Party, who, when discussions like that are being had, always like to plug in, as Burton said a while ago, very poisonous statements to sort of throw off the conversation. So
I know.
Respond, but be guided.
Yes. Well, thanks for that that information, Lofty. But again, we are here in an effort to educate, to have a conversation, and a very civil conversation. And he wrote that, and I just want to respond, as I said, in a brief manner, to say that governments are here to facilitate growth and development in any country, whether it's in Dominica, whether it's in the United States, anywhere. You hear Biden every day as the president of the United States of America saying that what the government has to do to facilitate small businesses, to make their enabling environment so they can operate, to make their energy much cheaper so they'll be able to perform, to provide finance. One of the major problems small businesses face in the region is lack of capital. And if we are saying that the government has generated sufficient revenue by way of a program called the CBI, then why isn't that some money going into the productive sector, in the manufacturing sector? So you have a company like Bello not having to go under. You have indigenous hotels like the Castaways, the Garaways, you name it, not going under. You have a candle industry not going under. And what that does in return, Mr. Baptist, is that it creates employment. It creates employment for the country. And if more people are working and more businesses are operating and not instead of closing, then the government will get more revenue by way of tax. So it's a win-win for everybody. The people are working, the government is generating revenue, businesses, and the economy is singing. So I think this is the role that I see. It has to do with government. If government does not provide the enabling environment, then clearly it creates a situation where businesses now will have to shut their doors because they're not able to operate. And that's what I would say on that. But let me just in terms of where do we go from there, which is what you're asking. What are the solutions? What are they? I'm not sure, Lofty, if you had the opportunity to read an article that was, it was on social media by Dr. Dale Dangler Bennett. It's called An Analysis. And he was visiting recently Dominica, and following his visit, he made some observation in terms of what he saw on the ground and what he thinks could be done. What are some recommendations? And it's a very well-written article, well-written. He identified what he saw as some of the problems, and he not only identified the problems, but he made some recommendations. He says there that he intends to expand on it further. And one of the areas that I think he touched on very forcefully has to do with our young people. And I fully subscribe to that. And I'm sure Aileen herself will subscribe to that. Our young people. We have a challenge now before our hands. How do we get these young people mindset change? The young men and young women to not embrace themselves as they are now in all of that CO, but to embrace themselves in more productive stuff. Small business idea. It's a digital world now we're in. I mean, when I have a problem with my computer or anything digital, I call my 14-year-old grandson. I called him, I say, hey, Tashin, can you come help Papa with that? And within a shake, he gets it situated. So how do we get our young people? And there is a document, it was just prepared, it's a prospectus document dated November 2022 from the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And it was for an 80 million 91-day treasury bill. And that was presented to the Eastern Caribbean Security Exchange. Because you know when government has to raise money, ask for money through treasury bills, it goes through a process. So they have this document that was prepared just last November. And on page 11 of that document, it gives an age distribution of Dominica's population. And that was up until 2019. Now, you know, the last census that was done was 2011. So we haven't had a census done since that time. But in terms of the population, do you know, Lofty? I'll tell you, the age 10 to 14, and as I said, that is out of 2019. So that's like 3 years, 4 years, whatever. The age population from 10 to 14 was put at 6,149, okay? Between 15 and 39 was 26,730. So between age 10 and 39, we have a population of 32,879. Now, the total population at the time was put at 72,231. That represents 45.51% of the country's population. So almost half of the population were young people. And then if we look at the age group 40 to 59, just below 60 retirement, we're looking at 17,748. So between that last group that I gave you, which is the 40 to 59, we have a population that is 61.57%. So herein lies where we are. We have a very young population. And the question remains, how do we engage them? And some of the areas that I think Brother Dale mentioned, and which I'm sure many other persons will subscribe to, they're small businesses that can be going into agriculture. Agriculture now is no longer what it used to be 10, 20, or 15 years ago. The landscape has changed. Small manufacturing, what they call micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. You know, an establishment that will employ between 1 and 5 persons, consider a micro, small between 1 and 10. I mean, this is the kind of encouragement that has to be given. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier on the whole question of dependency. We have to become more of a self-reliant people. And that has to be inculcated into our young people. So I would say the challenge lies in how do we get that across through our schools, for our various civic organizations, our clubs, our youth groups. How do we get that there and how do we engage? Because clearly from the numbers I just read out, we have a very young population. We don't have an aging population. In terms of people over 60, you're looking at no more than about 3,000-4,000 for the most. So the bulk of the people are young people. And therefore, I think herein lies the challenge where we have to look at the future. And as they say, the youth are our future. And I think that would be some recommendation. So I'll pause here for now. I'm sure Aileen would have some ideas that you'd like to share with us as well.
Yes, yeah, indeed. Elaine, you heard Alvin in terms of at least a solution that he put on the table. As we move closer, as we draw closer to the end of the program, Ms. Burton, what are some of the situations or what are some of the things that you think that we Dominicans, let us bring it back to us now as a people. How can we help in preserving the whole idea of being an independent country?
Well, that depends on what people understand by independence. And I think that's where the problem lies. They prefer to use or to think of independence as being able to do what they want when they want at any time. And this, I find, is the crux of the matter. It's really the problem. So again, education, probably we need to start with education, the children at school, and do some civic education, develop a sense of patriotism, teach critical thinking, logical reasoning, manners, etiquette, empathy, and these things. I think it has to start from the education system. If not, we're going to lose more generations who are just self-centered, individualistic, always right, and it will not help matters. So, but even in education system, I have understood that there are problems in certain schools. Teachers can no longer correct children properly. The parents come and give them their chalet. I mean, how do you deal with that? Is it that we do not have corrective measures? Is it that the schools have no autonomy to expel, suspend, like we had in the days when children behaved badly? What is wrong? So we have to look at the education system. We have to look at the teachers who are teaching. I know there is a college for teachers, but are they being taught psychology, the way to teach, to talk to children? I don't know what their syllabus is, but it is something that the Ministry of Education can look at. Why is it that our children are so badly behaved in schools? And see what we can do. Then, of course, you have the social groups. They're the guides. I would encourage children to join guiding. I don't know what other groups they had. They had a 4-H club, and ensure that those people who lead those children are properly trained as well. Maybe we need to have something for parents. I always remember my mom saying that the social league was her mini university. And she learned quite a lot because the social league, the women would call in experts to speak with them. I know my father read a lot of books on home education, training, and things like that. Do our parents, our young parents now, do they read? They seem to be more interested in being behind a cell phone. And what are they looking at? Because there's good and bad with YouTube.
True.
And they can learn a lot from YouTube. But are they using it in a positive manner? Are the children using it in a positive manner? How do we control the children? Parents are very important. And the mother and father must help each other, whether they are married or not, but they have to support each other. Mommy and daddy were a force in the house. They discussed things and then we got the result. Can you go there? No, we have decided you're not going, or yes, you can. We have decided you can go.
True. Yeah.
And I don't think we are bad citizens. I was just telling a friend of mine, we seem to be the last of the patriotic citizens, that age group. Because we were taught voluntarism. We do a lot of things just because we know it is our patriotic duty to do it. Now we have to reinstall those things into the children. Otherwise, Dominica is not going to go forward. Everybody wants to be paid for whatever they do. You know the amount of things I have done and not being paid? You know?
I know.
Do they have things like sending the children up to the hospital to help? These are things that have formed my life. Going to the hospital, folding sheets for the babies on children's ward. Going to the private ward, serving dinners. Our children encouraged to do those things now. Everybody want to be paid. But this is what shaped me. This is what it developed my leadership skills. You know?
Miss
So
Burton,
I think education is a very important area.
True. You touched on a point there, read the social league. Can you speak to that a little more in depth so that persons listening who may not have known about that league, how did that league help in terms of, what we're speaking about?
Is the Social League of Catholic Women.
Mm-hmm.
And it was started by Sister Alicia Trimeri, if I'm pronouncing the word right. And this was a woman, a nun, who had a vision for Dominica. She loved Dominica. So she had the Catholic women together. They were taught cooking. They were taught so many different things. And then all of a sudden, she would get doctors to talk to them. She would get, they just used to have workshops and workshops. And my father would say, you're going to another meeting. And he would wait quietly for her for dinner. He would not eat without her. So he would wait quietly for her. But he knew that these were the things that gave her some outlets out of the house and work. So he was quite happy. But she learned a lot of things. They had cooks, they had people who came to give their expertise. So I don't know which group has replaced that. And then all of a sudden, they found it was Catholic women, shouldn't be Catholic women. So they have it as a social league. And then it just started to drop down.
Yeah.
I think my mother, who died last year, was the last founding member of the social league.
Okay, thanks for that information. On another note, but we right there still, in terms of all the things that you, Alvin, myself, and some of the persons have been exposing here in this program tonight, I am hearing now a young person or young people listening to the program tonight, and they may be saying in their minds, but that lady wants us to go back in her time, man. Times have changed. We need to move on. How would you respond to that, Ms. Britton?
Love, human respect, values, principles can never be outdated.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And this is what you learn when you join groups like, well, there's no longer Social League of Women, so I don't know what has replaced it. But these things can never be outdated. Critical thinking, logical reasoning, love. And I find for a country where most of the churches are Christian, I'm not seeing the influence on people. I'm not seeing that influence on the general public. Most of us are Christians, if not 99.9%. We were Catholic before, now there are many different churches. But I am not seeing that influence on the society. I'm not seeing that Christ-like influence on society. I don't know where the problem is. But as I said, the young people get involved, but get involved in positive associations, clubs, whatever. From guiding, I learned a lot from guiding. And the guides are still around, so I would encourage the young children to join the guiding movement, join the scouting movement. You learn life skills. You learn how to work in teams. You learn how to help each other. You learn like knots and things like that, how to light a fire. You know, there are a lot of things that you can learn, and I benefited very much from I was a ranger. I became the first international commissioner of Dominica in the Guiding Association. I got funding to do a crochet project in Point Michel. I got funding to send 2 girls to Canada to learn. I don't know where they are. I don't know whether they have started a guide movement, whether they're sharing their skills. But this is something else. If you have a skill, you need to share. You cannot be selfish about skills. You know how many people have died with their skills and nobody knows what they are?
True, true.
A lot of people have died, have gone on to the other world and their skills have gone with them. But this is
True.
what we need to do. We need to share.
Yeah.
No,
And
I think it, I think it, I think Miss Button.
One of the Alvin, just hold on. One of the guys I listened to very much. What's his name? Wow, name doesn't come to mind now. But he said basically the cemetery is one of the place that or one of the places rather that is very rich
yes,
in everything.
oh,
And
yes,
a lot of
people have
persons
only
live their
secrets.
entire life and don't
Yes,
share their skill, don't share their talents.
exactly.
And he was just encouraging persons to share before they
Yes,
pass
they
on.
need to share their talents. This is why God gave us skills and talents,
And a
not
brain.
to hide
True,
under
true.
a bushel,
Brain.
but
Yeah.
to use them for the benefit of mankind.
But let me just jump in very quickly, and I agree and concur with what Eileen has said. I fully concur. But again, I would say there though that Lofty and Burton, we have what one might call a double whammy, in the sense that she said earlier a lot of what she learned came from the guidance that she got from her parents, and we've heard that proverb that says a fish rots from the head, not from the tail. It rots from the head down towards the rest of the parts of the fish. And I think therein lies part of the problem that we have, because even when we say as the young people, myself, Aileen, you, Lofty, the adults in the room, then put it this way, are the ones that have to be providing that guidance to the young people. So it requires as many of us, and I think I saw I think Sister Rosie Felix on the feed asked the question. It requires a lot of us who sits on the fences to get off the fence, say something, do something. There is this proverb that says that evil thrive when good men do nothing, say nothing. So it is bad that the person who is doing bad does bad. But if you, the individual who sees those bad practices, who sees evil in your eyes, and do not say something about the evil or do something about the evil, you're just as bad as the person who is committing the evil. So I think herein lies where we now in terms of the recommendation. And that is what gives me, when every Sunday I religiously come here and share this platform with you, Lofty, and whoever guests that we have, to be able to have that conversation. And that's one of the reasons why I responded to Mr. Baptist, because that's what happened. If we allow evil to perpetuate itself and we ignore it and we say nothing to it, then it continues. And it is my hope that at some point there will be one might say some level of evangelization and conversion. And
Yes.
she is right. Honesty never changed, whether we take it 20, 100 years ago. Lies don't change, whether we take it 100 or many years ago. Good habits don't change, whether we take it 100 years or no. Thank you, yes, I'm sorry, please, I love you, forgive me. This doesn't change. And I think, as I said, while yes, the young people are the focus, we're the ones, those of us still remaining, that still has the courage to speak, should continue speaking. And that is why I'm so pleased that we can have someone like Ms. Burton join Civic Vibes to do what we are doing there today, to have that conversation. And it's a conversation which I think we all have to have, no matter where we are as Dominicans, as we look forward to the next independence and the next one and the next one, and to make Dominica a better place for all of us.
Yeah, indeed. Folks on the live, there's a gentleman name that just don't come to mind as we speak. He's this black motivational speaker. I normally listen to this brother. He was basically written off by his teacher at elementary school. If any one of you know this brother I'm speaking about, just punch it on the feet. This black brother, he's one of the world-renowned
Les
motivation
Brown,
speaker.
Les Brown, is it Les Brown?
Yes, Les Brown. And he said it right. He said, as I said before, the cemetery is one of the places that, you can find most talents just lying there, because a lot of persons just pass through this life and did not pass on, as Miss Britton was saying. We have to share information locked into our being. It doesn't really mean nothing. It's when it is passed on and somebody else or some other people can learn from what we know, then that is where it means much more. Miss Brittany, it would be remiss of us if we did not ask you to comment on the culture that has basically taken over Dominica, especially where the young people in Dominica is concerned, where we're talking about that CO culture.
Lofty, that's the whole program, Lofty. That's another 2-hour program.
Well, we'll condense it in the next 15 minutes, and maybe Miss Britton will come back. But Miss Britton, young people, all what you have touched on earlier, trying to get young persons to be involved in. It seems as if some of the young persons, I must say, they are not heeding that wise or this wise counsel. What is taking these people by storm? And again, Alvin alluded to it very well, in that the head pushes that sort of CO, bacchanal, wild living, wild entertainment, and that is what is the dragnet that is basically having our young people,
This is why I speak about boundaries. We need boundaries. There needs to be some laws to protect the innocent people. But I'm going to read a poem to you.
Sure.
At one point, there were a lot of killings and shootings. And I wrote this poem in 2019. And again, as I said, the principles don't change. They're life skills to have principles, manners, etiquette, love, and so. So it's called suku. Pow, 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 suku. People screaming, scatter around. Pow, 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 and one is buried in the ground. Ou jamais we bagay constant en pays nou? Moun ka vini fou. Jealousy is a no-no. Anger, use control for so. Borrow, you must pay back. Honesty, a matter of fact. Patience, a virtue of great worth. Kindness, a gift from Mother Earth. Tolerance, a must in ample amount. Love, the panacea which surmounts. All these things children need to learn. All these things they need to learn. And we cannot tell them enough about patience, honesty, love, how to settle quarrels, how to beg to differ if you have two opposing opinions. You just end the conversation by saying, look, I don't understand what you're saying. I will maintain my point and I beg to differ. When you come to guns and to fighting and things like that, we have to learn control. We have to learn not to get hysterical, to control our anger. Very, very important. How to settle quarrels, how to discuss, how to have a difference of opinion. And if it's not learned at home, then it must be learned at school or through one of the social groups.
True.
This is why in guiding, we had teams, we had patrols, and you didn't have more than 6 because after 6, it's confusion. So you have a limit of 6 in a patrol. And you learn to work with each other, you learn to work as a team. But apart from guiding and the 4-H club, I don't know what else is there. I don't know whether the Catholic Church still has a Legion of Mary, the Children of Mary, because it was the Legion of Mary I went to work at the hospital. No, you don't have to have the Legion of Mary, but you can have a group of people who go up to help at the hospital, you know, and teach them this civic obligations, you know, things that they can do voluntarily. I don't
True.
know. I wish some young people would call in and at least suggest certain things. I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm not hearing from young people. But I think it's an area where people can suggest things that children can do. But then I think the education system is so geared towards academics. We are training children for export, and everybody must go away to university. What happens to those who are not academically sound? What happens to them? They need to find a niche in society, and it is through those groups that they find their little niche in society.
Well, you know, Eileen, I'm sure you recall at the grammar school, you had an academic and a technical division.
Yes.
We had a Londonderry camp. You remember those? We had that. We had Londonderry camp, technical. We had at the grammar school an academic and technical division. And one could even say in some shape or form that the public works department was another technical learning area. A lot of young men, that's where they learn their skill to weld, to mechanics, you name it. So the point remains, we've had that before. Why has it all gone away? And you mentioned, of course, there need to be some rules and regulations, and I quite agree.
There must be.
But it goes beyond just having the rules. It goes to the enforcement. Exactly. Because you can have the rules on the book and nobody cares about the rules or the Constitution, and nobody cares because even, again, like I referred earlier, the preamble of our Constitution, item 3, have asserted their belief in a democratic society in which all persons may, to the extent of their capacity, play some part in the institution of national life, and thus develop and maintain due respect for lawfully constituted authority. It's right there in our preamble. Lawfully and constituted authority, just what you're talking about. But to what extent are we able to enforce those? And that's why I go back to the point that I made earlier, that in addition to saying, well, yes, the young people need to do X, Y, and Z, I think those of us who are in that privileged position of still being able, not fearful, to speak and to call the issues, to do that. I think that as well is going to help and put us on the path forward.
That certainly would. I quite agree with you.
Yeah. All right, folks, as we're about to bring the curtains down on things here, let me just move across the table, as it were, and ask Ms. Burton to just, sort of pull the conversations that we have been having here for the past hour and something together. We started on the note of how important is the independence aspect of Dominica to us as a people. And the final leg, we looked at some solutions. So can you just connect these two now for us, Ms. Burton, as we sort of start to bring it down to the wire, the salient points?
First of all, I would like to get rid of that word independence.
Mm-hmm.
I think National Day, nation building, I think that word nation should be in everything that we do. And because I think people are getting the wrong end of the stick as far as, independence is concerned. If we want to maintain that word independence, then we need to put boundaries. You need to, the people in power need to have a vision of what they would like to see Dominica become in the next 5-10 years. the way I see things are going, everything is accepted. Is this how we want to see Dominica? Every second place is a rum shop. You know, I was quite surprised actually. On the 3rd of November, I went to the stadium, and the amount of tables with alcoholic drinks being served at that hour of the morning, bottles of alcoholic drinks. I may be old-fashioned, but that is something I would not accept at that hour of the morning on National Day. Pack of alcoholic drinks. Anyway, so again, this is where I get back to objectives. What are your objectives? What are the objectives of those in power for the next 5-10 years? Is it to build more skyscrapers, more buildings, more bars and recreational houses? Or is it to build the mindset of the people? And I think this is a critical area, to build the mindset of the people. Bring back a little bit of civic education. I mean, something that was just normal to me. You open a door to go into the supermarket. You look back to see who's coming, so you can hold the door open for them. But now doors are just slammed in your face. The person walks in and slams in. So how do we get back these qualities in us to be mindful of other people? You open the door, and sometimes people come out, you open the door, the person coming out, they don't let you in first, How do we do that? And I think this is education is one of the ways to help, but having more probably radio programs, television programs. How do you treat people on the road? How do you open a door and allow somebody to pass in? I think that the media can do a lot to help in that respect. I would not like because the second part of the theme is how do we preserve? Now, if it is going to continue at that rate, I don't want to preserve independence. I would like to preserve independence in self-sufficiency, but not in this way where anything will do. Why is it that men are still walking on the road with their trousers half down? Why? Nobody is making any comment on it. Things are happening and people should comment. Again, as a cultural icon and cultural activist, I want to make a special appeal to persons who want to wear the national dress. Please read up about it. The national dress is not a costume. It's not something that you can add on to. It's not a carnival band. It is a formal outfit which we have chosen to use on our National Day. Wear it correctly. If you don't know, read up about it, ask. But don't think you can just change it and wear anything that you want. If not, if you would like to, then use some other European form of dress. But do not take your national dress and turn it into a carnival costume. Please, I am begging.
And I see, Miss Britton, you're very, very passionate about the
very passionate, because I think
the way people carry themselves. Yes. Yes.
Respect.
Miss Britton, there's another situation on my mind before we bring the program to a wrap. And Alvin is out there, so maybe he don't know what I'm going to ask you now. But Alvin, feel free to chip in. And I am not in no way, shape, or form going to knock any organizers making the money or trying to be, as we said a while ago, self-sufficient. But when something pokes me the wrong way, I normally verbalize it. Here it is, Miss Britton, Alvin, and listeners, viewers as well. We now have in Dominica an activity, a fete, a jam, a CO, and the name. Now, Miss Burton, you know, name is very important. The name of that activity is Rise and Wine. Now, in my mind, somebody rising, meaning they're getting up from bed or getting up from sleep, whatever it is. In my mind, how I was indoctrinated was to give whoever, whatever it is, some, thanks and praise for waking me up. And that is how I was raised. But we have come so far as a people now. The name tells you when you rise, your first option is to whine. Whine to what? And it is a very subtle way, Ms. Burton, Alvin, of indoctrinating our young people now in the wrong way. And I am saying that because you see the amount of young people in particular in the park on whatever morning, basically rising and whining to a fete, to drunkenness, to that sort of debauchery life. And I am saying, if we continue on that trajectory, Ms. Burton, Alvin, myself, we may be long gone, but the Dominica that we're trying to preserve, it will not be. Because on that note, on that trajectory we are on, it is not a right trajectory. It cannot be. First thing in the morning, and when you spoke about the number of bottles of alcohol that you saw on parade, as it were, on National Day, on Independence Day, it struck me, and I said, let me bring it up. There are all types of fete, all types of CO, all types of, to get our young people who are already distracted, more distracted as it would, take them off from the core valuable things that stuck us together as a people. And it is sad, but where we are, Ms. Burton, it is not good. And I only pray that there will be a bunch of, I saw some person said a while ago, leaders are influential people, that there will come a time in Dominica when that set of leaders we have now, there will be no more. And they will raise up, as it were, a new crop of leaders who will sort of go back to the drawing board, go back to the foundation and sort of try to reinvent the wheel, try to bring us back to where we were, because where we are now, it is not right. And so these conversations, they're good, but unless we can turn those talk now into action, and I'm saying active action for the best or the better, then our young people, they are lost. The majority of young people in Dominica, they are lost.
The young people will not know what to do without a fete. I think really I was very, very, very surprised to hear about this rise and wine. And so is it wine the drink or wine the movement? It's wine the movement.
Whatever like, it is not setting the right precedence.
Yeah,
it's wine to drink or wine to wine.
Well, they said the girl's gone wild, So when you go wild, you rise and wine.
Well, you rise and wine, but
when
I
you
think
go wild, when the young girls go wild.
Rise and work. Let's see how that is. Tell me something. Is it a group of people doing that, or an individual, or it's an organization doing that, or individual?
Well, I don't know in terms of if it's an individual or an organization, but based on what I heard, to me the name stuck out.
Yeah.
And I said we cannot be as a people continuing on that note, because it is just going to get worse.
It will get worse.
It is just going to get worse.
something that crossed my mind as well is that with all those activities, where do people get money to go to those things? That has been my question. How can they afford to go to all these
Well,
things? That
again,
parties
Elaine, that will require another topic. We'll have to have another program for that because I'm sure Lofty and I can speculate.
Because I wouldn't be able to afford that.
That's zero. But you know, when you're able to get a man or woman in a drunkard state, that's when you have total influence over him or her. You're drunk and disorderly. You can't think anymore. Your brain doesn't operate in the way it operates. Whoever is providing you the alcohol has control over you. So you can go wild.
Again, this is where we need critical
and you could
thinking,
rise and whine.
Yeah.
So it is just a sad state. But again, I'm going back again to our constitution. That's why we have it. It's there. And bullet 4 says, well, the first one says, for example, have affirmed that the Commonwealth of Dominica is founded upon principles that acknowledges the supremacy of God, faith in fundamental human rights and freedom. And at 4, it says, recognize that men and institution remains free only when freedom is founded upon respect for moral and spiritual values and the rule of law. You hear what it says? Moral and spiritual values and the rule of law. Goes back to how you conduct yourself as a Dominican, your moral values, your spiritual values, the rule of law. So when we talk about girls gone wild and rise and whine, it undermines our constitution at the preamble number 4 that speaks about the respect for moral values and spiritual values and the rule of law. Because like you, Elaine, and I'm sure some of those as close to our age had fun. We had a lot of fun as a young man growing up. I had a lot of fun, I had a lot of fun. But in the process, I also learned what it was to be honest, to be truthful, to do what is right because of how I was raised. I was part of the JC's group in Dominica JC's and several other groups. But I had fun. So I think I don't know, Lofty, if you want me to wind up or if you...
Yeah, it is. We started at 15:15, so we have like 5 more minutes to go.
Okay.
So we will use that time to just kind of bring the conversation together and drive home some solid point. So yes, Alvin, make your final points. Then Ms. Burton make a final points, and we'll bring the program to a wrap.
So therefore, I'm going to conclude just as I started. And I'm going to submit, therefore, that reclaiming our future, that's going to be my theme for the next 5 years as we go into our 50th year of, if we want to call it independence, by then I hope it may be independence, reclaiming our future, our national sovereignty and self-reliance. And if we're able to create that, we will truly have a reason to celebrate every year on November 3rd. Because, as I said earlier, national sovereignty and self-reliance are very, very important. And when we speak, or when I speak of national sovereignty, it begs and calls on our leaders. It begs and calls on our leaders not to sell their people's right. Okay? Not to allow this country to be ripped up and ripped by foreign investors. And Aileen mentioned that. Careful what you go into. National sovereignty calls on leaders to reject bribery. Honesty again. National sovereignty calls on leaders not to use public funding to make investment overseas while their constituents are barely making enough money to buy medicine, school fees, and so on. And self-reliance, therefore, means embarking on a massive program of empowering our people, our young people in particular, to get involved in small-scale socioeconomic activities that would take into full account what we sometimes refer to as our kudme, okay? And I'm saying that while Dominica is officially independent, quote unquote, we're in fact still dependent both economically and politically. In simple terms, it is an agenda of what we had before for Europeans and now who we have. The Chinese and other foreign influences to keep us Black folks and our Kalinago people poor our entire life. And for that, they have influencers in the way of their ancient way of doing things. It is obvious that everything we do is in their interest. So we have to reclaim that future as a people. It is time that we move away. It's time that we shift from those so-called, quote unquote, if I may use that term, imperialist and colonialist and neo-colonialist exploitation. We have to go away from that, whether in its past or in its current form, an approach of full independence on the basis of our very own. And I think Eileen alluded to that we have to have goals, we have to have principles founded on the values of Dominica. If we keep on holding onto foreign models of development and keep rejecting our Dominican way, we will remain like this for the next 100 years.
All right.
So we have our job is cut off for us. Those of us who still have a voice should continue to speak up. And while on that, I just want to commend the folks like Sister Rosie in Dominica Underground and the women who are speaking up for injustice against the women. You know?
All right, Alvin, thank you very much indeed. Time is very, very limited here. Let me give our invited guest here, Miss Britton, the final thoughts as we about to bring it down to wrap in the next 2 minutes. Miss Britton, your final thoughts. Again, thanks for coming on behalf of Civic Vibes and many folks listening and viewing.
Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure. Alvin has said it all. Neo-colonialism is alive and well. So I don't know that the word independent applies really to us. But again, I will go back. Let us talk. Let us educate our children properly. Let us spend time with them, not too much on the cell phone, but more quality time with our children, teaching them critical thinking, logical reasoning, manners, empathies, values, principles. And I think we can only hope that with those things taught to them, they will be able to make, with that information, they will make good, what is the word I want? Good, forget the word.
Decisions.
Decisions, that's the word. Good decisions. That's what age does to you. So good decisions. And I think probably politics needs to be taught in schools, and it shouldn't divide. You know, politics is something that needs to be taught in a different way, because we vote for people hoping that they will do certain things, and if they're not done, it should be okay to change. It should not cause any division. It should not cause family rifts. You know, we just beg to differ and change and have another thing. But Alvin, you summed it up well. I don't think
Thank you very much. Pleasure to have you again, and hopefully we can have you again to continue the dialogue and the conversation, because there are so many other areas I think we need to, I think we need to have a special program to address maybe our young girls and our young boys. Just focus on the girls. What are some of the things that, and because it goes back again to family. If our young men and women are not growing up in a manner that they should, then how are they going to have families? And that's what a society and a community depends on. If they're growing up in the wrong way, and then now they're having babies and children, are they now going to inculcate that behavior into their children? So the whole family structure is at risk. So it's something that is quite serious, that requires some serious conversation.
Yes.
My allegiance was to someone else, not you. You're advantageous, many in numbers, the patriots are few. So it's no wonder we are where we are. We did not stand with you. Now we are harvesting poverty, fruits of a misplaced loyalty. Now we must turn back to country, each and everybody, beginning with me.
All right, Dominica. That is it for yet another very interesting and informative program right here on Civic Vibes. 5th of November 2023. Our special guest tonight was none other than Miss Aileen Burton. Did justice to the conversation indeed. Dominica, that's it. Thank you for your eyes and ears as usual.
Lots of signs, but not.
See you same time, same place next week, Sunday, for yet another very informative program.
To party.
Brother King Dice will take us out back to country.
As the vision brought us progress, our people enjoying success. It is already late. Come, let's grab our faith and repatriate our hearts, our mind to our country. My true confession is what I didn't do. I got to suffer, for my allegiance was to someone else, not you. All your exploiters, many are strangers, the patriots of you. So it's no wonder we are where we are. We did not stand with you. Now we live with hostility, fruits of a misplaced loyalty. Now we must turn back to country first, immediately, beginning with me.
Gonna take the last verse of the dice and then we are out. See you, Dominicans. Bye-bye. We love you.
Be easy, change is hard. Everything has its price. But for children and country, it is worth the sacrifice. The past is past that we cannot change, but our present and future remains. Take a good look around. We have lost so much ground. Turn around, come around. Your loyalty belongs to this country, not that party. Dominica, my true confession is what I didn't do. I watch you suffer, for my allegiance was to someone else, not you. All your exploiters, many in numbers, the patriots of you. So it's no wonder we are where we are. We did not stand with you. Now if we are in dishonesty, fruits of a misplaced loyalty. Now we must turn back to country, each and everybody, beginning with me.